You are Locked On Marlins POSTCAST. Part of Locked On Sports Miami on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
And you really need to be a fan of that team right now. What's up, Marlins fans? Welcome to your Locked On Marlins postcast. My name is Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease, and of course I kid the Marlins in the intro, but I want to tell you real quick before we get into today's show, which is a tough one for the Marlins again. And these guys are just day in and day out finding new ways to lose games, just like I'm finding new ways to have someone mess with my equipment, even though it sits here with tape marking where they're supposed to be left at all times. Just anyway. But the point being, the Marlins found a new way to lose this game today, meaning they scored a bunch of runs and they still lost. So they were able to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory today against the Washington Nationals. Your Locked On Marlins postcast, I want to thank you for being here, making this a first part of your day every day. We know how much you love the Marlins. We know how much you love the Miami teams here on Locked On. It's your team every day, and you are here, Locked On Marlins postcast after every single game. We're doing Heat, we're doing Dolphins, we're doing the U2, the University of Miami football team. Scoot over here a little bit more into the frame. It's one of those days, right? Everything's kind of scattered. It's the hamsters in the wheel aren't running fast enough to keep us moving around here. But I will say this, okay? I will say that I'm very glad that you're here, making this a big part of your day. First Listen every day. We're free. We're available wherever you get your podcasts. That means wherever. Spotify, you know what I'm saying? iHeart, Apple Music, Stitcher, Podbean, everywhere you get your podcast, as well as on the YouTube channel, which is Locked On Sports Miami. Sometimes they bring us up and put us on a daily show, and of course the MLB channel. We got you locked in and locked on with Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. And today's show, what a show it is, brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's right, $150, win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started today. And today was a busy day for the Marlins offensively. The Nationals, too. I mean, you're talking about 21 runs on 26 hits. To give you a little bit of perspective here, and that's combined, the Marlins scored 12 runs today. 6 of them in the first inning. The Marlins. And I'm sorry, they scored 9 runs today. All right, I'm losing my mind here. The Nationals scored 12. The Marlins scored 9 runs today, guys. I just need to let you know, because that's my job. It's what I do. I give you information that you might not have otherwise thought of, and you can determine whether it's useful or not. And I think this is incredibly useful, that the Marlins, in their previous 8 games, they scored 8 runs. Today, they scored 9. So they scored more today than they had in their previous 8 games combined. And they still lost. It's been that kind of year for the Miami Marlins. It's been that kind of year for this team. They make the playoffs a year ago. Schumacher, everybody's loving him. I mean, why not, right? You know, you had De La Cruz flirting with 400 for half the year plus. And this year, it's been anemic. I mean, OJ couldn't have made them bleed. You know what I mean? That's how anemic they are. It's ridiculous when you think about it. The Marlins just not getting things done on offense. And today they did. And I will say this, and Tommy Hutton said it on the telecast. I love Tommy. Shout out to Tommy Hutton. He's been there forever. I've known him forever. But I will say the Marlins starter in today's game, Ryan Weathers, I remember his dad, David, covered him. He was there a lot of years in the early years and right from the beginning. And, man, David Weathers was a solid pitcher for the Marlins. He started some games, he relieved, and his son Ryan's on the team now, which is cool because Brian Harvey's kid's on the Nationals, and both those guys were on the original Marlins team. But anyway, Ryan Weathers looks really good in the first inning. Comes out, gets him 1, 2, 3. He's in a rhythm. He's hitting his spots. Pitchers, and I have to tell you this, pitchers are weird. Pitchers are strange. Pitchers are more creatures of habit than almost anyone you've ever met in your entire life. They're more superstitious. They have to have their nails the exact same way. They know they don't step on the chalk line. They have to eat the same thing before every game. Pitchers are extremely superstitious, right? Extremely superstitious. And maybe the biggest part of being a pitcher is your routine. You're throwing in between starts, how many warm-up pitches before the game, everything you do in between innings. to even when you go get a rub down here and there on your shoulder during the game. Every single thing is mapped out. It's scheduled for optimum efficiency, for optimum success. For each starting pitcher, they have their own programs and their own routines, and they have their off-day routines. And most people leave them alone on their off-day routines because, like I said, pitchers are crazy, okay? Well, Ryan Weathers was in a nice routine, and you might say, oh, Jim, you're making excuses for him. Grease, come on. This dude just got ripped, and so what happened is he comes out in the first inning, looks really good. His rhythm's crisp, everything. In between innings, you have a routine. Innings don't last that long in Major League Baseball, per usual, right? Well, this one did. It's a 6-run inning for the Marlins in the bottom of the first, and he's just sitting there. And remember, it's the first inning. So he had just thrown all his warm-up pitches. He had just come in and just started the game. His arm's hot. His arm's live right now, right? And then he's got to sit. His arm's live as it will be throughout that game today. It's live right there. And this dude's sitting there while they score 6 runs. I mean, of course you want the run support. You know what I mean? It's a double-edged sword. It's not oftentimes going to work out so well when you have a pitcher sitting for that long. And, you know, that really, I would like to have seen what Weathers would have looked like had that not happened. But at the same time, when your offense is struggling like that and you get a chance to put a 6 spot on the board, Jazz Chisolm hits a grand slam. He's got 5 in his career. Why is that significant? Well, how many grand slams do you have in your career? I know my answer is none, at least not in the major leagues. I had a few, but not in the major leagues, right? So 5 career grand slams. Why is that significant? Anyone? Because Jazz Chisolm is now second on the Miami/Florida Marlins all-time list. And the fact that I said /Florida is your hint. Who is the Marlins all-time leader in grand slams? I know you can't answer this right now. It's just a question that you're not going to answer. But the answer, because you're incapable of it right now, not that you don't know it, but you just can't do it technologically, the answer is Jeff Conine, Mr. Marlin. 6 career salamis for Jeff Conine. And that dude, when they brought him back in 2003, that was dope, man. I'm not going to lie. I had a lot of fun covering that team, doing the post and pregame shows every day for them, and I really enjoyed that. And the Marlins last year make the playoffs. You start thinking, okay, maybe this group can start to come together and achieve a little bit of the magic that the 97 or the 03 teams did. Granted, with a lot more superstars and Mr. H, as we called Wayne Huizenga. Wayne Huizenga opened up the wallet, opened up the checkbook, opened up the pocketbook, whatever you want to call it. Quick little side note on Wayne Huizenga, one of the greatest sports figures in the history of Miami sports. Mr. Huizenga brought, obviously, the Panthers and the Marlins, and then he owned the Dolphins. So he brought those 2 teams, owned the Dolphins, did a lot of what Jerry Colangelo did in Phoenix, except Huizenga was a billionaire and Colangelo was doing it OPM, other people's money. But Wayne Huizenga was not afraid to spend money on that team. But a quick little story on him. My kid's mom, ex-wife, is a dental hygienist, and Wayne Huizenga was one of her patients in Fort Lauderdale years ago, right? So one day, Mr. H comes into the office, and he has his cleaning or whatever, and she's straightening up her room after he leaves because another patient's coming in. They have all these things they have to do, systems, you know, all these sanitation and all that. Well, what happens? She looks, and there's a wallet. Guess whose wallet it was? Mr. H. Wayne Huizenga left his wallet on my ex-wife's. This is true. So she gives it back to him, and he goes, oh, there's nothing in it anyway. And she just looks at him like, yeah, right, dude. The guy's a billionaire. I think that's funny. But he was a great guy, man. Wayne Huizenga was just what a nice guy he was, and a guy who was really good to the sports fans of South Florida. And his legacy is entrenched in that South Florida sports scene, obviously, and up on the marquee in lights. But the Marlins score 6 runs in the top of the first, or the bottom of the first inning today, I should say. It was 1-2-3 for Weathers in the top. The Marlins score 6 in the bottom of the first. They score 1 in the bottom of the second. Now, this is a team that's 6-22. This is a team that scored 8 runs in 8 games. This is a team that has been shut out 3 times in the last week. Okay? 3 times in the last week. And they have a great first inning today. They erupt for 6 runs. And then after that, it all just falls apart, man. And it really is. I mean, you got exactly what you needed. Look, Luis Arraez is starting to hit the ball again. He's really raising that average, the on-base percentage. He's getting some walks. He's scoring runs in that leadoff spot. I like Arraez a lot. You guys know if you watch this show, I like him a lot. I also like De La Cruz a lot, really starting to rip that ball in the 2-hole. They were both on base again tonight. The other night they did it where they hit back-to-back singles. Chisolm doubled, and Arraez got thrown at the plate. He's not the best base runner. they could learn a lot from the Nationals. Man, I love watching the Nationals play ball. It's like that team that used to play Bugs Bunny, where they're just running around the bases the whole. That's the Nationals, man. They take the extra bag any chance they get. They're running on the pitch constantly. I love watching this team play ball. I love what they're all about. And I think they're going to be really good toward the end of the season because of it. They find ways to win, and now they have some power. But first, I'm telling you about the Marlins. I have to talk about the Marlins with Arraez singles to left and De La Cruz singles to center. And you ground into a fielder's choice with Bell, and now you got one out with Chisolm Jr. And this is exactly where the Marlins have been hitting into double plays constantly, just like they did in the ninth inning tonight when they got the first two guys on. But Chisolm just crushes a ball to left center. Arraez and De La Cruz and Bell all score. It's the grand slam. It's 4-0. They add two more. Brujan triples to right. Myers scores. He tripled too. Myers and Brujan with back-to-back triples. Fortes singles to center and scores Victor. But that was a great inning for the Marlins. And then in the top of the second, and this is where I was, I don't want to say taking umbrage or maybe disagreeing with the guys on the telecast a little bit. And look, when you're commentating 162 games and your team is 6-22 at the time, now 6-23, I mean, you're going to have to be grasping at some straws here and there every once in a while. But, you know, when Weathers came back out for the top of the second, he got Meneses, who's been a hot hitter in the Nationals lineup, to line out to center. Then Vargas singles and Lipscomb grounds into a fielder's choice, and he hits a batter. Adams walks. So you get a hit batsman, you get a walk. You could see that layoff affected him a little bit. They did not score, though. That's what I'm saying. It takes away from Tommy's point a little bit, is that they didn't score in that inning. The Nats didn't score. They wouldn't score until much later in the game. And really, it was in the fifth inning, right? He's saying, no, it was the fourth inning. Yeah, so in the fourth inning, the second inning, he was fine. Third inning, the Nationals, Abrams hit by a pitch. He hits and another walk. He had another hit batsman, another walk. So you could see maybe the wheels kind of getting a little bit loose for Weathers. And if you follow him, I mean, it happens when he's pitching. It used to happen when his dad was pitching. So the wheels start to come off a little bit for Ryan Weathers. And, the Nationals just put together a rally. And what it was all about tonight was Senzel. Nick Senzel, 2 home runs, right? And this one here was a 2-run shot. He added a 3-run shot later. And so just by himself drove in 5 runs. But it was that top of the fourth where Lipscomb singles and then a walk. So it was the walks. It's always the walks. Hit batsman is something that you should never have happen unless you're really trying to run it in on a guy and you accidentally hit him. Hit batsman should never happen unless you're throwing at him on purpose. That's the only other way you do it. Or the only other time when you would see that. But the walks are killing you. The walks are killing you. The walks killed Weathers today. You're giving him a free base runner without swinging a bat. My coach, I remember asking him, Jim Morris at the University of Miami one time, sitting in the dugout with him when I'm broadcasting games on the student station, WVUM. And I asked him, about that. And I'm like, what is it about the walk that kills you so much, Three? He's like, you're giving him a base runner without swinging a bat. You're doing their job for them. You're putting them on base. You're giving them a free pass. And that's not something you need to be doing. So 6 runs in the first, 1 run in the second. The bats come alive after a terrible slump. You love seeing that. You know what I mean? They had been pitching reasonably decent. I'll give him that. But Weathers just couldn't get it done. And then, in the fourth, he gives up the 5. And Weathers came back out in the fifth. And that was a bad decision by Schumacher because, hit by a pitch, Lipscomb to start the inning. So how many? Count that. 3 hit batsmen and 4 walks since that long delay. Remember? Crazy pitchers, creatures of habit? Yeah, exactly. So I don't think Schumacher should have run him back out there for the fifth. I think it was a bad mistake. You still had the lead, though. You don't want to crush your bullpen too much. You're in a 4-game series on a 7-game homestand. So I understand. I'm not going to kill him there. But leaving him in at that point in time when he was struggling so badly with his command, with the walks, with the hit batsman, and what happens, you get a walk, you get a hit, and then all you need is that 1 hit to bust open the inning. They scored 4 in the fifth. Senzel with a 3-run shot, 2-run shot in the fourth, 3-run shot in the fifth. How about that? Have a day, Senzel. And then the Marlins, they're quiet. They're going 1-2-3 at this point. Corbin's out of the game. Anderson's pitching well. Law's pitching well at that point. And then he got Anderson striking out, swinging to start the inning. 2 strikeouts in the fifth for him. And in the sixth, the Nationals score. They steal home. It's 10-7. They steal home, score a run. The Marlins go quietly in the 6th. In the 7th, the Marlins put a couple of runs on the board. Anderson doubles to right to score. Jazz Chisolm Jr. and Sanchez singles to right. Anderson scores. So there you are. Hey, it's 10-9. It's 10-9, guys. Here we come. Not so fast, my friends. Then it's 12-9 because the Nationals scored twice in the top of the 8th inning. And that was pretty much all she wrote. So you're watching your Locked On Marlins postcast right here on your Locked On Sports Miami YouTube, right here, wherever you listen to your podcast. You're not watching it, but you're listening to it on Spotify, on iHeart, on Apple Music, wherever you get your podcast. A lot of fun. My name's Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease. I'm going to step aside and take a quick break, tell you about a couple of our awesome partners. And you guys know these brands. They're some of the biggest and best brands in the world, and they are a big part of what we're doing here on Locked On. And when we resume the actual content portion of the show, tell you a little bit more about why Ryan Weathers struggled and what happened with that Marlins pitching staff today, where even when they score 7 runs, because let's be real, you score 3 or more, you should win half your games. You should. You score 7, you should win 99.9999999999999%. That's what you should do when you score that many runs, and especially when you hang a 6 spot in the first inning, it should be la-la land for the rest of the game. The other team should be taken right out of the game. They're not even chipping away at that point. So we'll see how that goes for the Marlins moving forward with this pitching staff. And, you get a big lead and you can't even keep it. I got to get to this spot. We'll get to some more content in a minute on that pitching staff. But first, break number 1. And I have to tell you about DoorDash. Oh, it's Mother's Day on the 12th. My mom's visiting me. She flies out on the 11th. Not sure what that means to me. But we're going to celebrate Mother's Day early, my kids and I, and we're going to be having some fun because you're going to want to get something thoughtful for your mom always for Mother's Day, right? My mom's a little different. Yeah, she likes the perfume and some of the nice blouses and things like that too. But my mom's a sports fan. She's the reason I'm a sportscaster. And I'm always doing something sports related. So with DoorDash, you can surprise her. Even with that, you can get the fresh bouquets if you want for your mom. You can get the latest tech, the gift cards, the self-care treats. Moms love that and more to make her day that much better. It is never too late to show your mom love this Mother's Day with DoorDash. Surprise her. Flowers, gadgets, self-care, all in one place, delivered right to her door. If she has a sweet tooth, whatever it is, you get the flowers, you get the gift card, you get the candy, and mom is happy. You get it all right there on DoorDash. With the Dash Pass membership, you'll save $0 delivery fee and reduce service fees on eligible orders from DoorDash merchants that meet the minimum subtotal. Other fees, including service fee, do apply. But I will say this: get a Mother's Day gift as unique as she is with DoorDash. Use code LOCKEDONMLB to get 50% off your next order. That's 50%, half for you math majors out there, up to $15 when you spend $15 or more on your next flour, convenience, grocery, or retail order now on DoorDash. Order using DoorDash today. Locked On MLB is the code. Terms apply. And also want to tell you about Monopoly Go. Have you guys started playing this yet? Monopoly Go, man. What a game. Everybody, it's taking the world by storm. Monopoly Go. What are you saying? Flag on the play? You already talked about that, but there's just so much good stuff in the games that are going on right now. But Monopoly Go, there's never going to be a flag on the play. Your friends might throw one, but it's going to be useless. It's not going to help them at all because you'll be just destroying them. And the thing about it is you can team up with friends. You can do tournaments. You can work together to build up each other's boards. You already have the boards from all over the world, the Vegas Strip, Camelot, you name it. It's pretty dope, right? You can buy the greatest properties. You can sell them. You can just stomp the life out of your friends and take all their money. Yeah, it's Monopoly. It's not real life, but it gets a little tense, gets a little competitive. You got unique stickers you can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes. You can get cool new playing pieces to travel the boards with, emojis to taunt your friends. It feels new. It feels exciting every day, constantly changing tournaments and challenges. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go. So get off the bench and go download it now, free on Google Play or the App Store. Game on with Monopoly Go. All right, there you have it. Break 1 in the books. Locked On Marlins postcast. Getting a little late in the show for break 1. Apologize on that one, guys. I got a little, sometimes you got things on your mind, and I'm on a roll, and I'm tired of watching things happen that don't need to happen. I'm tired. I'm an old head, right? I guess, is that the phrase now? An old head, right? And yes, pitchers have always walked hitters. And no, they didn't have the time constraints with the new rules. Lord forbid. Thank God it's made baseball tolerable again. That should be the hat. Never mind make America great again. It should be make baseball tolerable again. And they have with these rules. And I love it. Thank God, because I really, I have better things to do with my life than watch a 3.5-hour baseball game every night, even though I love the sport, right? I'll watch a 2.5-hour baseball game, but 3.5, come on, it's excessive. But if you're looking for positives for the Marlins today, and I know I said I'm going to talk about the pitching, I'm going to get to that. Un momento, por favor. This was not a very good game today. If you're a baseball fan, if you're a fan of the art of playing baseball, of the skill of playing this great sport, you're talking about 21 runs on 26 hits and 3 errors in this game. I don't even want to count the number of walks, but I'm going to because I'm sick in the head. Well, maybe I'm not, because they're only showing strikeouts these days. Good. I don't have to. But the point being, there were a ton of walks today. Ton of walks in this game today. Hit batsmen, a little bit of everything to make you disgusted with the lack of fundamentals, with the lack of clean play that I'm seeing across Major League Baseball as the years go by. And the Marlins need to clean that up. Obviously, the pitching was atrocious today. And I mean, I don't even want to, I'm going to, but I mean, just the lines, it's just crazy. I mean, Weathers in 4 innings, 5 hits, 6 earned runs, 3 strikeouts. I can't tell you the walks, but I do know this. He hit 3 batters because the walks aren't in the box scores anymore for some reason. But Bender goes an inning, 3 earned runs on 3 hits. 3, right? 3. You know that Weathers only threw 56 strikes and 87 pitches. That is not good. That is not good. Smith comes in. He gives up an earned run in an inning. No run allowed for Ramirez. He's, along with Cronin, didn't allow a run, but then Hoying allowed 2 earned runs. So 4 of the 6 Marlins pitchers were scored upon. Just a terrible, terrible, terrible game for their pitching staff. Corbin was no good for the Nationals either. 4 innings, 8 hits, 4 earned runs. And then they were able to get to Weems, 2 earned runs in a third of an inning. But Law and Harvey and Finnegan, donuts, zeros. And so, yeah, but looking at Weathers, right? And again, he had the long layoff. He's got the ERA under 5, which apparently is good. That's what they tell me these days in baseball. And the whip matters more anyway, Jim, 1.48. But he's 2-2, and he's the son of a major leaguer. He grew up in the lifestyle. He's a professional dude. Everything is down to the minute for pitchers. Everything is down, in some cases, to the second. Every inning in between, they have a routine. Even when you just see them sitting there, they're doing something, right? And to be sitting there that long completely throws it off. But more than anything, your arm gets so loose and so warmed up because you're throwing all those pitches before the game. Then you go out and you throw the first inning. If this inning had been later on in the game, it might not have been as big a deal. Just timing is everything, but a big inning for the Marlins. And, this is for Weathers now. It's been, he's projected to be a guy who can go out and give you 15 wins in a season, maybe 16 wins. And, I think you can see that potentially from a guy like him. He pitched on Monday at Atlanta. The Marlins lost that game 3-0. He gave up all 3 runs, all earned in 5 2/3, 1/3 of an inning, shy of a quality start, 3 runs, 6 innings, quality start. And today he got staked to a 6-0 lead, which he would have loved the other night when it was a 3-0 shutout loss. But, them's the breaks, right? And that's how you have to look at it. And they'll bounce back. They play again tomorrow. They wrap up this series. But Bender and Smith and Ramirez and Hoying and Cronin, all that, remember, it comes back to the injuries that the Marlins are facing right now in just pitchers alone. The guys who are out accounting for 47% of the innings pitched last year. And, Puck's out. He's a starter. And by the way, Jake Berger is getting closer and closer to coming up, the big first baseman who still leads the team in RBIs. But yeah, you got Luzardo on the IL. You got Braxton Garrett on the IL. I mean, just so many starting pitchers, but you also have some relievers, Simpson and Chargois. And, it's just one of those things, man. And Yuri Perez, of course, the 60-day DL, he's a starter. And Alcantara, also a starter on the 60-day DL. So they've been crushed by injuries in the pitching staff. They're bringing guys up who weren't going to be in the big leagues this year. They're having to just do whatever they can to get by and get through in this situation. And it just isn't working well for them. I mean, it just isn't. I don't know what else to say other than that. And I'm not going to scream. Why? Because if you're watching Fox Sports, ESPN, TV all day, and you turn down the volume with all the screaming and shouting, make the switch to Locked On Sports today. It's free. It's 24/7. It's a sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Streaming without the screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And with that, we're going to take our second and final break of the show. The Marlins drop the third in a row to the Nationals, 6 in a row overall, and a tough loss today. They score 6 in the first, 1 in the second. They lose 12-9. They're out hit 14-12. I mean, just bleh after that second inning. I mean, just vomit-inducing whatsoever when you think about that with the Marlins and everything that happened. I mean, look, in every single game, there's something new, right? For a bunch of games, you're not scoring any runs. Then you get 6 and your starting pitcher's sitting too long and he starts hitting people everywhere. And it's just when you're not going good, these things follow you. And you seem to be able to do it very well, find ways to lose games. And that's something that you really need to correct moving forward. And I can't tell you enough how much that means to the Marlins. And when you're struggling, the way they've been struggling and not scoring runs, and you score more today than you scored in your last 8 games, and you still don't win, it starts to creep in, guys. It starts to creep in, and you start to think, hey, maybe we're not meant to win. Maybe it's not our year. But when I come back, I'll talk about the 4th game of this series and what the Marlins can do to snap the streak and get back into the, Joe Angel would say, win column. Your Locked On Marlins postcast is brought to you by FanDuel. It's playoff time in the NBA. It's playoff time in the NHL. Baseball is in full swing. The Marlins finally swinging them too today. And FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed from FanDuel. That's $150 win or lose. Bet on everything. Slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that's safe, secure, and easy to use. What are you waiting for? I ask you this every day. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn, FanDuel.com/LockedOn, and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. It sure is. Thanks to FanDuel for being a part of what we do here at the Locked On Podcast Network. Continuing along with your Locked On Marlins postcast. I hit the back end of the commercial break. It's going to be a good day as we wrap it up here on your Locked On Marlins postcast. And my name's Jim Greashopper. Call me Grease. We'll be here after every game. And, of course, they wrap up this series tomorrow. There's nothing worse sometimes when you're a ball player or part of a team than a 4th game of a 4-game series on a Monday. You think the Sunday game starts early. It's a getaway day, but not so fast, my friends. You got one more game before you can get on out of here. And those Mondays coming off the weekend, and it can be a little bit rough sometimes as a guy who's a former baseball announcer and travel with teams. So I can tell it's a little rough on that. But, man, what's worse than that is losing 6 in a row, right? 9 of 11. And you're at like 14 of 17 right now if you're the Marlins. And that's not a real number. Could be, but I'm just looking at this. There's L. But the point is they have not won many games. They've won 2 of their last 9. 2-7 in their last 9, and they weren't scoring runs. Today they did. They can get it going on offense. Look, I'm telling you right now, Arraez and De La Cruz, they can be as good as any 1-2 to start a lineup off. 1 and 2 in the lineup. Those 2 guys get it going, man. I like Arraez a lot. He's got to be mentally sharper. I like the way he swings the bat. I like his plate discipline. De La Cruz I love De La Cruz in that 2-hole. And, you're going to get Berger back in the middle. So I do think you're going to start scoring a bunch of runs. And I think that, as pitchers start to come off the injured list, you know what I'm saying? And they don't call it the DL anymore. I think it's one of those politically correct woke things from the Karens. We can't call it disabled. You'll offend the disabled people. So now it's the injured list. So that's how, anyway, that's just my 2 cents. I'm not sure if that's really why that's the case, but you know what I mean? It wouldn't surprise me, but we call it the injured list now. And you know what I mean? It's a joke, but I really think the Marlins are onto something here offensively with Arraez and De La Cruz starting to get hot simultaneously. And you got Chisolm swinging it well right now. Like I said, Berger coming back. So that lineup will score runs. This team's going nowhere this year. Make no mistake about it. The rest of this year is going to be to see how they can improve, how much better they can get. They're not making the playoffs this year. You start 6-23, but who do you have is going to become a player for you in the future? Either a player or a chip. What do I mean by a chip? Someone you can trade in a deal to bring back a piece that helps you get to the playoffs or maybe win a championship, right? That's what you're looking for in Major League Baseball when you don't have the astronomical payrolls of the Yankees and, the Dodgers, man. Hey, we're going to pay you over the next 762 years, but you're not going to get a payment until your great-great-great-great-grandson is 60, Shohei Ohtani. I mean, how much further can they push out the contracts and defer the money? You don't see those Bobby Bonilla stories every year where he's still getting cash from the Mets. It's unbelievable. Anyway, I digress. The Marlins lose 12-9 today. They scored 6 in the first, 1 in the second, had a 7-0 lead. They added the extra point in the second inning. Wrong sport, but hey, why not? And you're just thinking, wow, this is going to be good. And in between innings, I remember I said to someone in my house, I said, man, Marlin's putting it on them today. It's going to be a fun show. And it's still been a fun show because it's always a fun show. But guys, the Marlins need to help us out a little bit more here, right? And you are a loyal fan if you're sitting here watching this right now. I appreciate you. We appreciate you at Locked On Sports, and we are so pumped to tell you all about us day in and day out. We're locked on your favorite team every day. We're locked on your favorite city. Odds are every day. We're locked on sports gambling. We're locked on the NBA. We're locked on MLB, and we are locked on daily with the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. And now it's also available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. It is Locked On Sports today. It's here for you 24/7. Imagine that. You can't sleep. You wake up, you watch it. You wake up too early, you watch it. Middle of the day, you're bored, you watch it. You get the point. It's 24/7. You're covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports today, now available on the free Fire TV channels app. That's going to do it for us today on your Locked On Marlins postcast. I'm Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease. The Marlins lose 12-9 to the Nationals. The two teams wrap up their 4-game series tomorrow in the MIAO. And you got to snap the 6-game losing streak. You have to snap the 6-game losing streak tomorrow. 6 in a row. You have to find a way to get it done. It's a 6:40 game, and you got all this time today, even though it was a little bit of a longer game, an early start. You got South Beach, you got the restaurants, you got the steakhouses. Do something to get back on track. Don't let the Nationals get back to 500 tomorrow. They're 13-14. The Marlins are 6-23. It's going to be Jake Irvin for the Nats and Trevor Rogers, who pitched pretty well last time out for the Marlins, who, according to the matchup predictor on ESPN.com, are 59.9% likely to win this game. Take that information to FanDuel. I'm Jim Greasehaber. Call me Grease. This has been your Locked On Marlins postcast. Keep your game tight and your mind right, Fish fans. We will talk to you tomorrow with your Locked On Marlins postcast.